Hello friends, this is Jack from Choco Anime Recap, and today, I'm going to explain the 2022 action war anime called Vinland Saga, Season 2, Episode 12. But before that, please like this video and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell for more anime recaps. Olmar is sitting outside with his head resting on a table, feeling miserable and humiliated after his failed attempt to cut through the pig in front of Knut. The people around him are discussing what happened and making derogatory comments about Olmar's appearance. One of the men suggests that they should inform Olmar that he has failed and will not be able to join Knut's army. A hooded man who is flipping coins in his hand encourages the man to do so. The group approaches Olmar to deliver the news and are looking forward to ridiculing him for his inability to cut through a dead pig. After they leave, the hooded man uses one of his coins to kill a butterfly in mid-flight and comments that they are just as foolish as they perceive Olmar to be. Broad, a former soldier in the late King Harald's army, approaches Olmar and introduces himself along with his three friends. He claims to have been tasked with delivering Wolf's message to Olmar, who had failed to cut through the pig in front of Knut. Olmar already knows the outcome and assumes he has been rejected, but Broad insists on reciting the message in full. He delivers most of it eloquently, but as he reaches the part where Wolf regretfully rejects Olmar, the men burst out laughing. Broad then taunts Olmar, asking if the pig was wearing chain mail and suggesting he should find another line of work. The men continue to laugh as Olmar becomes increasingly angry, remembering Thorgil's plea for him not to bring further shame to the family. In a fit of rage, Olmar pulls out his sword and challenges Broad and his friends to a fight, insisting that true warriors settle their differences with the blade. This only fuels their laughter and mockery. Olmar swings his sword at Broad, who manages to dodge, and the situation escalates further. At a nearby table where Thorgil was eating, a man informed him about a fight involving swords happening by the stands. Broad was easily handling Olmar in the fight and asked his friends to step back, not wanting to gang up on someone who couldn't even cut through a dead pig. After knocking Olmar's sword out of his hand, Broad instructed him to get up. Meanwhile, a hooded man nearby thought to himself that Olmar's lack of swordsmanship would make his plan challenging to execute. Olmar fell to the ground once again, and Thorgil approached him, urging him to stand up and reminding him that the battlefield is no place to rest. Olmar explained that the men had insulted him, and Thorgil replied that he knew and insisted that Olmar get back on his feet and kill the man who insulted him. Thorgil lifted Olmar up by his tunic and demanded that he fight, saying that the only two options for a warrior who's been insulted are to kill or be killed. He told Olmar to become a man by picturing his gory victory and killing Broad. Olmar rushes towards Broad with renewed determination. The hooded man observes that Olmar's strike is resolute enough for his scheme to work. However, Broad remains unfazed as he knows how to evade a mindless attack that can be anticipated from a distance. Fed up with playing around, Broad prepares to end Olmar's life with his sword. As Olmar gets closer to Broad, the hooded man tosses one of his coins, which lodges itself into Broad's eye. As Broad turns and clutches his face in agony, Olmar thrusts his sword into Broad's neck, killing him. The audience cheers, while Broad's companions and Thorgil are stunned by the sudden turn of events. With Broad's death, his friends draw their swords, aiming to take revenge on Olmar before he can escape. Thorgil congratulates Olmar, then brandishes his own sword and instructs his brother to leave the rest to him. Thorgil violently dispatches the rest of Broad's friends. Meanwhile, Olmar, who is kneeling on the ground with his face covered in blood, is shocked to realize that he has taken someone's life. Ketil arrives at the site of the altercation and appears visibly shocked. Thorgil attempts to calm him down, but Ketil is overwhelmed with worry, asking how they could possibly remain calm after having killed the king's messenger. Thorgil notices the deceased broad's bloody eye and comments that it appears to have been crushed by a heavy object. He turns to Ketil and declares that they are not guilty, as Olmar was simply defending his honor after being insulted. While Thorgil himself participated in the fight, he reminds Ketil that there were 5 opponents and that dueling laws are rarely enforced. Thorgil asserts that the men understood the risk of offending someone who carries a sword and ultimately paid the price for underestimating Olmar's skill. Ketil looks at the lifeless bodies and feels nauseated. Thorgil repeats that they are not at fault and that such duels usually end with no consequences. He emphasizes the word usually, leading Ketil to wonder about his true intentions. A group of soldiers approaches the 3 men and demands to know who caused the disturbance near the king's residence. The soldiers immediately notice Olmar and question why he is still alive. They also wonder about the identity of the 3rd man with Ketil and Olmar. Thorgil introduces himself and explains that the commotion was caused by a challenge to a man's honor. The soldier informs Thorgil that dueling is illegal and declares that he will arrest all 3 of them. Ketil expresses his frustration, as he had warned Thorgil about the consequences of their actions. The soldiers instruct them to surrender and prepare to tie them up. When one of the soldiers demands that Thorgil hands over his sword and submit to arrest, Thorgil quickly unsheathes his sword and decapitates the soldier. He proceeds to do the same to the next soldier beside Ketil. As the soldiers lie dead on the ground, Ketil looks on in disbelief as Thorgil cuts off the hand of the 3rd soldier. Ketil can't help but wonder if Thorgil has lost his mind. Thorgil ignores Ketil and tells the wounded soldier he'll spare his life if he answers his questions: why they let Olmar win, who masterminded the plan, and what that person's purpose is. The soldier starts to reply that he doesn't know, and Thorgil stabs him in the left eye. He tells the soldier he's getting impatient and again asks why Olmar was set up. The wounded soldier screams that Olmar was set up to kill the king's messenger so that Ketil could be arrested for his involvement in committing high treason. Ketil is shocked. Thorgil asks if the purpose was money. The soldier replies that he doesn't know any more than that, as he just did as Jarl Wolf ordered him. He begs Thorgil to spare him. Ketil feels faint and wonders why King Canute would betray him after previously proclaiming him and his farm as treasures of Denmark. Thorgil speculates that Canute coveted Ketil's farm for himself. Ketil despairs, feeling that his life is over now that the king has marked him for death. Thorgil disagrees with him, grinning and saying that this is just the beginning and that their opponent is strong. Meanwhile, Wolf reports to Canute that Ketil and his family have managed to escape and apologizes for failing to prevent it. He informs Canute that their ship has been confiscated and their lodging searched, but they are nowhere to be found. Wolf also expresses regret for not being able to restrain Thorgil before the plan was set in motion. Canute observes Thorgil's impressive warrior skills, and Wolf agrees, noting that he was an outstanding subordinate. Canute reassures Wolf that his plan remains intact, and they will proceed with their mission to Ketil's farm as planned. He hopes that Ketil will not be present, but if he is, they will subdue him. Wolf assures Canute that he has a well-equipped force of 102 elite soldiers, including 32 royal guards and 72 Jomsvikings from Floki. Canute agrees that it should be sufficient and inquires when Floki is due to arrive. Wolf tells him that he will arrive in 3 days, and Canute decides they will depart then. As Wolf leaves, Canute glances at King Sweyn's decapitated head, which is still chuckling. He asks Sweyn what he finds so amusing, and Sweyn responds by stating that a father should be pleased to see his son's resemblance. Canute urges Sweyn to insult or ridicule him if he wishes, as he is determined to create a utopia on Earth for the sake of his lost love. While at sea, Leif informs the group that they are no longer being followed, and it's safe for everyone to come out of hiding. Thorgil and Olmar emerge from their respective barrels, and Thorgil expresses his gratitude towards Leif for his assistance and kindness. However, Leif reminds Thorgil that he only helped them because of their agreement and urges him not to forget their promise. He states that it was challenging to convince his crewmates to harbor fugitives and ensure their safe return home. Thorgil assures Leif that they will purchase all of his shipments at 3 times the regular price, but Leif demands Thorfinn as part of the agreement. Thorgil agrees to his terms and looks towards Ketil, who is still hiding in his barrel. When Ketil refuses to acknowledge Thorgil, he orders him to come out and confirm their deal. However, Ketil yells back, telling Thorgil to leave him alone.